In the long flow of Chinese history, across the serene palaces of the Tang Dynasty, there lived a woman whose existence seemed almost impossible. Her name was Wu Zetian. She began her life not as royalty, nor as a daughter destined for a throne, but as a concubine, one among many in the great halls of the emperor. Yet through patience and a keen perception of the tides of politics, she would one day take the highest seat of power, ruling as the only female emperor in the long history of China. Even at a young age, she noticed that the worlds of men and women were divided by unwritten boundaries, but she did not accept that these boundaries applied to her. When she was still a teenager, she was selected to join the palace as a concubine to Emperor Tang. Life inside the imperial palace was a place of beauty and danger. Hundreds of women lived within the same gates, all hoping for the rare attention of their emperor. Wu Zetian's rank was low, and she spent much of her time in silence, far from the emperor's view. Still, she observed everything. She memorized the rituals of court life, the personalities of influential ministers, and the ambitions of those who smiled while plotting quietly behind silk screens. She formed a habit of speaking only when she had something meaningful to say. Gradually, her intelligence earned her moments of notice, and she became known as someone who listened more than she spoke. Emperor Tang appreciated her skills and gave her tasks involving administration and handling documents. It was unusual for a concubine to be trusted in such matters. Wu Zetian understood that knowledge could be a ladder. She climbed it slowly, step by step. Yet fate changed its direction when Emperor Tang fell ill. His son, Li Jie, who had always admired Wu Zetian's sharp mind, ascended the throne as Emperor Gaozong. According to custom, the concubines of a late emperor were expected to leave court life entirely and spend the rest of their days in a monastery. Wu Zetian was sent to Ganye Temple to become a nun. For most women in her position, that would have been the end of their story, and history would have simply forgotten their names. But this was not the end for Wu Zetian. It was merely a pause. Emperor Gaozong did not forget her. He remembered the confident young woman who had served his father and had shown uncommon wisdom. Soon, he arranged for Wu Zetian to return to the palace, not as a forgotten member of his father's household, but as his own consort. The court was shocked. A woman who had once served a previous emperor was now brought back into power. Many disliked her return, but Wu Zetian acted with humility while strengthening her ties with Gaozong, supporting him in matters of state and offering advice that he increasingly relied upon. Over the next years, she gave birth to children, something the emperor's primary wife had failed to do successfully. With each birth, her influence grew. She used this growing influence to advance her allies and remove her enemies. Some of her decisions were ruthless, perhaps even cold. History records her as a woman who would do anything to protect her rising position. And in a palace, where betrayal was as common as tea, ruthlessness was often a shield rather than a sword. When Emperor Gaozong suffered from frequent illness and headaches, Wu Zetian became his trusted partner in ruling. She sat beside him during official audiences, reading reports and issuing orders on his behalf. Ministers spoke to her as much as the emperor. She became a decision-maker, a figure of undeniable power. After Gaozong's death, she ensured that her son became emperor, but his rule existed only in name. The true power of the empire rested with her. Eventually, she decided to remove the illusion. In the year 690, she declared herself emperor of a new Zhou Dynasty, replacing the Temps for the first time since its founding. It was a moment that stunned all of China. A woman was no longer empress, no longer regent, but the emperor in her own right. She chose a new dynasty name, a statement that China would now follow a path she forged. Though critics accused her of being harsh, she believed that governing required balance, mercy toward the weak, and firmness toward those who threatened the state. She also sought spiritual legitimacy. Wu Zetian was particularly drawn to Buddhism, which preached that enlightenment was available to all, not only men. Buddhist monks supported her reign, proclaiming that she was the reincarnation of Maitreya, a figure destined to bring prosperity. Those who opposed her spread rumors of cruelty and suspicion, portraying her as a monster who climbed to power through blood. Yet there are also records from her reign that speak of prosperity, harmony, and a flourishing culture. Ministers and aristocrats who never accepted her rule saw an opportunity to restore the Tang dynasty. Officials removed inscriptions praising her and destroyed records that highlighted her achievements. Yet one silent monument still stands today. She chose to have her tomb marked by a stone tablet with no inscriptions at all. No words, no praise, no titles, just a blank stele, waiting for the future to judge her fairly. Over time, people have returned to her story with fresh eyes. They see a woman who rose from concubine to emperor through cleverness, discipline, and a profound ability to understand power. They see someone who made mistakes and took risks, someone whose ambition both built and threatened her legacy. But they also see someone who opened doors, expanded opportunity, and proved to a deeply traditional world that leadership does not belong to one gender alone. Now, as scholars reflect on the long history of China, they speak of Wu Zetian not only as a ruler surrounded by controversy, but also as a rare leader whose reign strengthened her empire and left a remarkable imprint. She remains the only woman to claim the title of Emperor of China in her own right. Her life reminds us that history is filled with unexpected rises, and that greatness can come from places where no one thought to look. Her story stretches across centuries, traveling through whispers, books, and memories, reaching those who wonder how one single life can shift the course of a nation. In the quiet stillness of time, Wu Zetian continues to defy expectations, resting beneath her blank stone, unbothered by the judgments of the past, waiting for the world to recognize what she achieved. A concubine who refused to remain invisible, a ruler who shaped the destiny of China, a woman who became emperor,